We'll wait 2 more minutes for your friends to join, and then we'll start. Okay? We'll wait for 2 more minutes for your friends to join. Okay, shall we start? If you can hear my voice, just give me the confirmation in the chat. If you guys can hear my voice, just give me the confirmation in the chat. Hello? Okay, let's start. So today we are going to discuss about a new model for machine learning, which will basically include our time analysis, because we have seen supervised learning, we have seen unsupervised learning, we have seen regression and clustering also. But in all of them, there was no model in which we included our time. Okay, there was no model in which we included our time. So this is the only model you can say present inside the machine learning algorithms which works on time analysis. Okay, this is the only model inside your machine learning algorithm which works on time analysis. Okay, this is the only model which works on time analysis, and it's known as ARIMA. ARMIA. ARIMA. Let me just share the screen.
class class
Who is speaking? Just turn off your mic. Abhishek. Abhishek, just when you're speaking, just turn off your mic. because I think you are speaking on a phone, mobile phone or what. Okay, let's just start. Okay. So in whatever what we want about time series analysis, suppose if a vendor, if a shopkeeper or if a vendor wants to see that what's the sale he's getting in every month, what is the amount of sale he's getting in every month, and he wants to predict the future sales. Okay, based on the sales data he have, he wants to predict the future sales. So for that purposes, he is going to use a time analysis. Okay, because he's getting data based on time that in this month he's getting this much sale, that and then month of February he's getting the sale of 1 lakh, then month of March he's getting a sale of 1.5 lakh, then uh, month of April he's getting a sales of 2 lakhs. Okay, so that's if his sale is increasing or decreasing, whatever the factor is. So he wants to predict on that case that what is the amount of sale he's going to get in the month of August. Okay, and based on the data he's going to get, he's going to get different items or the stocks of different items required for the month of August as per the sales. Okay, so let's move forward. So in this analysis we have just one variable, time. Okay, we don't take multivariate analysis in this thing. Okay, we'll have one input, one output. Based on the time will be your input, and based on that time you are going to predict output. If you have multivariate analysis, then you cannot apply time series analysis on it. Okay, if you have multivariate data set, then you cannot apply time series on it. Okay, now what is time series? Basically, time series is something which we use to predict the future. Okay, a time series is a set of observation taken at a specific times, usually equal interval. Okay, usually equal interval means a equal interval of 1 month. It can be interval of 6 months, it can be interval of 1 year, it can be interval of 15 days or 5 minutes also, but the interval should be equal in your computer set. Okay, we cannot apply time series analysis if your data set has unequal intervals. Suppose if your data set has having an interval of 1 month in the starting 100 data sets, and in the remaining 50 your data set is having an interval of 1 year. Okay, so if your interval is not equal, you cannot apply time series analysis. Your interval should be equal in the entire data set. Okay, it is used to predict values based on future. It is used to predict the value of future based on previous observed values. Okay, so you can think of where you are going to use this time series analysis. Okay, so you are going to use this time series analysis in basic business forecasting. Okay, future planning. What about the future planning? What they are going to do, how they are going to use, how they are going to acquire for the vaccine. Like in case of corona, now we are using this time series analysis, like this much people are getting vaccinated each and every day. So in the next month or in the next day, how much vaccine we should require or how much vaccine we should bring with us, so that we can supply or we can vaccinate the persons reaching on the vaccine center. Okay, to get the exact figure or what is the amount of vaccine we are going to require the next month for a complete month, so we are able to vaccinate for the whole month, or we are able to vaccinate each and every person coming to the vaccination center. Okay, this is how we are doing the future planning. Okay, and evaluate current accomplishment. Okay, evaluate current accomplishments means how good you are doing at the present time, how good you are doing at the present time. Okay, now the components of time series analysis. Okay. So these are the one of the basic components of time series analysis, and you should understand each and every component. Okay, you should understand each and every component because they play a major role when we try to apply a time series analysis. Okay, so in your time series analysis, we have four different components. The first components is trends. Okay, trends. Basically, you can see that there's an upward trend. In the same way, it can be a downward trend. Like you can say the sales of oxygen ventilators, the sales of ventilators has been going up in the past 2 years. Okay, the sales of oxygen ventilators is going up in the past 2 years. But once the corona is stable, the situation of corona is stable, the sales will again go down. So this is currently we are following a upward trend. Okay, once the sales are increasing and once the things are moving in the positive way. Okay, so this is an upward trend, and in the same way we also have a negative trend. So if you can apply a time series analysis if your data has a trend. Either it can be upward trend or it can be a downward trend. It does not matter. But we can apply your time series analysis if your data has an upward or downward trend. Okay. Then this seasonality. Okay. So what we mean by seasonality is you can think of that the sales of ice cream. Okay. If you think of ice cream, okay, the sales of ice cream goes up in each and every year during the month of June, July, April, May, June, July. Okay, the sales of ice cream always goes up in during the month of April, July, and then it again flatten and we get a very small sale. And then when the month of June, July again came, it again goes up. Okay, so it is repeating itself in a particular season or a particular amount of time. Okay, it's repeating itself for a particular amount of time, like a span of 3 months, then stable for again 9 months, and then again repeating itself for a span of 3 months. So if we equal distribution, okay, if it's repeating its structure or if it's repeating its value after an equal distribution of time or after an equal amount of time, it is called as seasonality. Okay, seasonality can be of 6 months, 2 months, 12 months, 15 months, or anything like that. So this is known as seasonality. Okay, so we can also apply time series analysis with the help of if our data has seasonality. Okay, so in case of seasonality, we do not apply ARIMA, or you can say that ARIMA does not give us a very good result. To get a very good result, we should apply SARIMA. Okay, or you can call it synchronous ARIMA. Okay, so with the trend data, ARIMA will give us very good output. But if you have a seasonality in your data, then ARIMA will not be able to give you that much good output. So in that case, we can apply synchronous ARIMA, which is known as SARIMA, and it will give us a very good result as compared to ARIMA. Okay, and this is known as irregularity. The next is irregularity. So in case of irregularity, when there is a sudden event or sudden spike or sudden downfall in anything, like as you can see during the COVID period, okay, as we talk about COVID period, the sales of movies or okay, the sales of movie goes down exactly tremendously. The sales of movies has gone down tremendously, and once the COVID will be stable, again the sales will go up. Okay, it was an event which we cannot predict. Okay, COVID was such an event which we cannot predict. So that event or that type of event which we cannot predict, like in case of if there is a flood scenario in Kerala, then during the relief equipments, the sales of relief equipment will go up. Okay, and once that scenario is stable, it will again go down. Okay, so if there is sudden increase or sudden decrease, or there's sudden increase in something or sudden decrease in something due to any causes which we cannot predict, is known as irregularities. Okay, due to such causes which we cannot predict is known as irregularities. Okay, and this is cyclic. Okay, so there's some similarities and there's some difference. Okay, so seasonality means it's repeating in particular month or in a particular day. Okay, on first day of every month or in month of May to April in every year. Okay, in month of May to April or in month of April to June in every year. This is known as seasonality. But if your data is repeating at an equal amount of time, okay, if your data is repeating at an equal amount of time and it is not in the span of 12 months, if your data is repeating at equal amount of time and it is not in a span of 12 months, because in seasonality, if we are taking data in day 1 and if we are taking data in day 15, if there is a seasonality, then we'll see the increase. But in cyclic, that's not possible. In cyclic, there should be an equal amount of time and equal span. Like if your data is on the first day of 2001, if your sales is on the first day of 2000, suppose on 1st January of 2000, your sales is of 1 lakh, then on first of 2001, it should be again 1 lakh. If you repeat the exact figure, if we are getting the exact figure, then it's known as cyclic. Okay, if again the sales of on 1st January 20 2012 is again going to be 1 lakh, then this is known as seasonality, because it's repeating itself on the exact particular day, or it's repeating itself on the exact particular month. Then this is known as cyclic. Okay, cyclic and seasonality are very much similar, but they are somewhat different. If you want, you can just check much more videos on net or different types of articles to understand clearly what is the difference between cyclic and seasonality. Okay, except from cyclic, are you guys able to understand these basic three things: trends, seasonality, and irregularities? Are you guys able to understand these basic three things? Because this is very important when we are going to apply any machine learning model or which is of time series. Are you guys able to see this? Yes. Okay. Let's move forward. Then. This is seasonality and this is stationary. Okay. So these are two different things. First one is seasonality and the other thing is stationary. So I've already told you, then when our data is seasonal, then when our data set has seasonality, we cannot apply a Riemann model, but because it's not going to give us a good result, we have to apply a model known as sequential ARIMA to get a good result. Okay. Now we can apply a time series model or our time series model. Okay, in general, okay, our time series model will give us a good accuracy, or we can apply a time series model only and only if our data is stationary. Okay, we can apply a time series model only and only if our data is stationary. Okay, so what we mean by stationary is, let's see, time series model has a particular behavior over time, and there is a very high probability that it will follow the same in the future. Okay, because our time series data is uh, varies on time, and we have a very high probability that it will follow the same trend in the near future. So if our data is stationary, then only we can apply a time series model. Okay, so this is if a data is stationary and it follows the same trend in the near future, this is known as stationary. Okay, and how to not to remove, how to check stationary, how to check. Okay, how to check whether your data is stationary or not. So if your data is stationary, you will be having a constant mean. Okay, you will be having a constant mean. Okay, you will be having a constant variation or constant variance. Okay, and the auto covariance. that does not depend on time. Means the correlation will does not depend on time. Means, okay, let's see one of the each thing one by one. Okay, so what we mean by mean, we already know, I think all of you must know that mean is basically known as the average. Okay, so your average will remain same throughout the time. If your average is same, okay, then your variance, the variance is basically the distance from the average. Okay, distance of each and every point from the x mean. Okay, distance of points from the average is known as variance. Okay, so if your distance is same, then it is known as constant variation. Okay, and the third is auto variance that does not depend on time. Basically, the sales of April does not depend on sales of May. Okay, that if the sales of April is high, then the sales of May is high. If there is any such correlation, if there is any such strong correlation, then we can say that our data is not stationary. And if we don't have any such strong correlation, then we can say that our data is stationary. Okay, so there should be no such strong correlation between the sales of two previous months, or two simultaneous months, or two consecutive months. There should be no correlation in data between the sales of two consecutive months. Then we can say that our data is stationary. If we have constant mean, if we have constant average, and we have no collinearity in data. So if we want to check stationary, we can check with the same way. We'll check for mean, variance, and covariance. And to check it, we have two different methods. Okay, to check our data is stationary or not, we have two different methods. The first one is rolling statistics. Okay, so in this case, we plot this rolling statistics basics. Basically, is a visualization technique. Okay, this is not a numerical technique. This is only a visualization technique in which we plot the basic moving average and moving variance and see it variance with time. It's a more of a visual technique. We plot the moving average, okay, and we'll plot the moving variance. We'll plot both the things and we'll see its statistics based on a variance with time. Okay, we'll see the change in average and we'll see the change in variance based on time. This is mostly of a visual technique. You will not get a numeric output out of it. Okay. Then to get a numeric output, we have add Fuller test. We have ADCF test, which is known as add Fuller test. Okay. So in this add Fuller test, we take null hypothesis. Okay. We take null hypothesis. Hypothesis. Okay. Null hypothesis means we assume that our data is not stationary, or we assume that our data is stationary. And if we get a p-value, okay, if we get a p-value less than 0.05, if we get a p-value less than 0.05, then we say that our data is stationary. Else we reject the null hypothesis and we'll say that our data is not stationary. Okay, this is null hypothesis. I think you must have, or you are going to read this in your second or third year hypothesis topic. Okay, so null hypothesis, what we mean by null hypothesis is that we are taking an assumption, okay, that our data is stationary. And if our value comes less than 0.05, we'll assume that the assumption we are taking is correct. But if our data, or if our p-value is not coming, or is not having a value which is less than 0.05, then we'll say that our assumption is wrong and our data is not stationary. Then our data is not stationary. The test result comprise of a test statistics and some critical values. Okay, the test result will comprise of some test statistics and some critical values. Okay, is this clear? The rolling statistics test and add Fuller test. Is the rolling statistics and add Fuller test clear to you all guys? Is rolling statistics and add fuller tests clear to you all, guys? Again, okay. So these are basically two techniques which are used to check whether our data is stationary or not. Okay. So we know that our data is stationary when we have constant variation, constant mean. We know that. But how we are going to check? Okay, how we are going to check that we have a constant mean or not, or we have constant variation of the mean? Okay. So to check that our data is stationary or not, okay, we have two techniques. Okay, first one is rolling statistics, which is known as visualization technique, and the second is add flood test, which is known as a numeric technique in which we take null hypothesis. Okay, so first talking about rolling statistics. So in this rolling statistics, we'll do nothing but we'll plot the basic two things. We'll plot the moving average, or you can say the average and the variation. Okay, we'll plot the moving average and we'll plot the moving, or we will plot the variance of a data set. We'll plot the complete variance of the data set with respect to time. Okay, we'll plot the complete average and we'll plot the complete variance with respect to time. And if the variance and the average comes to constant, okay, if after plotting we see that the average is constant, and if we see the variance is also constant, then we are going to say that our data is stationary, because this is only a visualization technique. Okay, this is just a visualization technique, and we know that when our data is when we have a constant mean and when we have constant variation, our data is stationary. We know that because that's the definition of stationary data set. Okay, so we are going to plot both the things, and if we are getting a constant values in stationary in mean and variance, then we are saying it that it is a stationary data set. Okay, then in case of add fuller test, we make an assumption. Okay, in case of add fuller test, we make an assumption. Okay, h0 consists of assumption, or you can say null hypothesis. Zero stands for null and h stands for hypothesis. We make an assumption, null hypothesis, and h1 is your counter hypothesis. Because what we mean by null hypothesis is we make an assumption that our data is stationary, and h1 will be the opposite of it, that our data is not stationary. Okay, h1 will be automatically a null hypothesis, constant hypothesis, which will say that our data is not stationary. Okay, so we are making an assumption that our data is stationary, and based on the assumptions that our data is stationary, we are going to calculate different values. Okay, based on that our data is stationary, based on the assumption that our data is stationary, we are going to calculate different values. These different values are known as p, q, and d. P, q, and d. If you want, you can calculate all the three. If you don't want, you can just calculate the value of p. If the value of p comes less than to be 0.05, this not only this add full hypothesis, it's basically true for any type of hypothesis you are going to do. Okay, it is true for any type of hypothesis you are going to do in your future. Okay, whether it's z square test, or whether it's square test, or whether it's any type of test. Okay, if your p value is less than 0.05, then we are saying that our null hypothesis is true, which is saying that our data is stationary. And if the value of p is not less than 0.05, then we'll say that our null hypothesis is not true, which means our data is not stationary. Okay, is it clear to you guys now? Let's move further then. Okay, let's move further. Okay, so we have to just see one last thing before we are going to apply this. Okay, so this is your ARIMA model. Okay, this is your ARIMA model. We have already discussed something about three values, which is known as P, Q, and D. So we are going to depth in depth of it. So what are the change value? Okay, so a ARIMA, in case of ARIMA, it's an auto-regressive function. Okay, it's an auto-regressive function which is going to predict you the future values. ARIMA is basically composed of two different models. But first one is auto-regressive, and the second one is moving average. Okay, the first one is auto-regressive, and the second one is moving average. So by this, you are able to see that it's a regressive function, or it's going to classify or it's going to give you a regressive values, which means we are going to get a continuous values. Okay, so it's an auto-regressive function, and the MA stands for moving average. So as to get the time component, and to bind these two things together. Okay, and to bind these two things together, or to use these two things together, we have a third component known as integration, or which is also called as D, the order of differentiation. To bind these two things together, we have a component known as integration, which will integrate both the things, or you can say it will give us order of differentiation, that how many times we are going to differentiate. So the MA value, moving average value, is known as Q. Okay, and the auto-regressive lags, the value of auto-regressive function is known as T. Auto-regressive lags. Okay, this auto-regressive lags suggests or gives you that how much time you are going to predict the first value, how much time you are going to require to predict any value. Okay, how much time you are going to take to predict any value. This is known as auto-regressive lags, and that Q stands for moving average, and then I is the thing which is known as order of differentiation, is the thing which is basically binds both things together. Okay, it basically binds both things together. We are going to get these values A, Q, and D value in our add fuller test. Okay, we are going to get the values of A, D, and Q in our add fuller test, and the value of P should be less than 0.05, so as to make our data is stationary. Okay, now let's move to the application part. Okay, so now let's try to apply this all these things we have discussed now on a data set, and let's try to check whether we are going to get, or what's the accuracy we are going to get, or whether we are able to predict the future value or not. Okay, okay, so these are the basic steps which we follow in when we are trying to applying any ARIMA or sequential ARIMA model or seasonal ARIMA model. Okay, so ARIMA is known as auto regressive moving average. Okay, and this is a general process which we are doing. We are going to first visualize our data. Okay, first we are going to visualize our data, then we are going to make our data stationary, because we can only apply our time series model if our data is stationary. If our data is not stationary, then we are not able to apply time series model. Then we'll plot the correlation and auto correlation chart. Okay, then we'll plot the correlation or auto correlation chart. Basically, this correlation auto correlation chart will be given with you with the value of P and Q. Okay, so when we will try to get the value of P and Q with the help of this, and then we try to construct an ARIMA Saver model based on the data. When we are able to get a value of P and Q, then we will be able only to predict or to fit our model on a data set. Then after that, we are able to get a value of P and Q, then only we are able to fit our model of it our data set, and then we'll be able to predict the future values. Then only we'll be able to predict the future values. Then we use this model to make predictions. Okay, so these are the basic simple steps which we are going to use. Okay, so let's move forward and let's try to apply these things one by one. Okay, so as you guys can see my screen, okay, so I have imported three basic modules, which is NumPy, Pandas, and Matplotlib. Okay, and Matplotlib inline basically used to give the graph of all the Matplotlib in the same file itself, in the same Jupyter file. If I'm not giving this Matplotlib inline, then it will give me different dialog boxes or different new boxes, new tabs for each and every Matplotlib plot. Okay, so to get the same plots in the same Jupyter file, we are going to use Matplotlib inline. Okay, now I'm importing a dataset known as Fairy Monthly Champagne, Fairy Monthly Champagne.csv, Fairy Monthly Champagne.csv. Okay, so what do we mean by Fairy Monthly Champagne.csv is it's basically the sales of a champagne on monthly basis. We have a data set of sales of champagne for monthly basis. Okay, on monthly basis, how on monthly basis how we are able to do the sales. So when we are reading our data set, okay, see pd.readselsb, and then we are going to check the top five values. So when we are checking the top five values, we are able to see this month as one column and the second column with this name. This is not quite a good name for the column, so we'll change this name for sure. Okay, this is out of five values. So our data set start from 1964 first month, 1st January of 1964. Okay, let's see the bottom five values. Okay, so our data ends in 1972, ninth month of 1972. Means we'll have a data set from 64 to 72, which is total of 8 years. Okay, we have a 8 year data set, and in 8 years we have each value of sales in a month. Okay, we have value of sales in a particular month. Okay, so we have data of almost 8 years, and we have sales of each and every month. We have buying sales at each and every month, and we are going to predict that how the sales is going to have in future, or what was the sale in 2000, what was the sale in 2001, what the sale is 2021. We are going to predict that. Okay, so to apply our, before applying our visualization, first let's clear this. We can see that please don't leave and rejoin it meeting, else I will be forced to log the meeting and you won't be able to rejoin if you are leaving once. Okay, just please have a look at the screen and visualize what I'm trying to say. Okay, so when we are seeing these tail values, we are seeing one thing, that the bottom two values are nan. See, these two values, bottom two values are nan, which means we can drop these two values. Okay, we'll have only 105 data set. Our data set will ranging from 0 to 104, means we have a total of 105 values. In 8 months, we have sorry, in 8 years, we have total of 105 values. Okay. So let's start cleaning our data. So see, first thing I have done is I make the columns name clear. Okay, the first column will be month and the second columns will be same sales. Nothing Perry, Sherry, sales, something, whatever the previous name was, Perry, Sherry, monthly, champagne, sales, millions. Okay, so I'm just change this to sales. I'm not concerned about what is the column name anymore. Okay, the first column will be the month, the second column will be the sales. Okay, now I'm dropping the last value, drop df dot drop, you can see on the screen, df dot drop. I'm dropping the 1 and 6 row with x is equals to 0 means I'm dropping that complete row and doing the in place equals to save that dropped value or to save the drop data or to save the modified data in the df itself. I'm writing this in place equals to save the modified data in the df itself. Now when I'm going to check the tail, we still have a NaN value, then again going to drop it 105 x is equals to 0 in page equals to, so to save the drop data set. Okay, now we am going to check the df dot tail. I'm able to see the values only. I'm not able to see any NaN values. Okay, I'm just getting months and sales. Okay, so to apply a time series model, okay, so to apply a time series model, we have to first basically change this month. We have to basically first change this month column to the index, or you can say we have to change this month column because currently this month column has a value which is known as string type. Okay, these are values which are known as string type or object type or integer type. These are not a time series model. Okay, this is not basically a time series model, or this is not basically a time series month or date we are getting. Okay, so we are converting this to a date time model. Okay, we are converting this month to a date time model. So how we are converting this? We are providing df dot month. So whatever the value we are going to get, we are saving in this df dot month. And what we are converting is, we are converting this to a date time. The output will be a date time module. Okay, so it will act as a date now. Okay, currently it was acting just as a number or as an object. Now it will act as a date time. Okay, so you can go month forward, 1 month back, or 1 year forward or 1 year backward, whatever you want. So we are converting this to a date time module. So PD dot to date time, okay, and df month. So now you can see that we have date, month, and year. Date, month, and year. Earlier we was having only year and month. Now we have date, month, year. So as to get a proper date time module format, proper date time module format. So firstly we have year, then we have month, and then we have day. Okay, year, month, and day. This is my exact format. Now I'm making this month. I'm taking this month column as a index. So you can see here, I'm setting those index equals to in place equals to true. So now your month column is set. Your month column is set. Now I'm going to check the head. So you can see that your month column is now acting as an index. So I have to I have removed this serial indexing which I was getting from 0 to 104 because it was not a feature and we do not require indexing. Okay, we don't want to pass indexing to our model. Okay, we want our to pass only time, and based on time is because time is the only feature we are bound to pass, and based on time we are going to predict the sales. Okay, so I have passed month here and I'm predicting here the sales. So let's check all the values we have. Okay, so df.describe will give me all the details. So we have total of 105 values. The mean sales is 4,761. This is my average sales. The standard deviation is 2,553. The minimum sales is 1,400. The maximum sales is 13,960. Okay, these are my basic values. Now now we are going to perform the step number 1, or you can say the step number 2, which is known as visualization of data. So as to visualize, we are just doing df.plot because in df variable we are storing our data set. So after doing df.plot, you can say we are getting this type of output. So what you can predict from this figure? What you are able to predict from this particular figure? From this figure, you can predict that the sales of champagne is increasing at the end of every year. The sales of champagne is increasing at the end of every year So we can say that our dataset has seasonality, which means ARIMA will not be working very good. We'll have to apply SHARIMA or seasonal ARIMA. So we can say that our data has a seasonality because its sales is increasing at the end of every year. Okay, whatever the factor may be, we can see here clearly that the sales of champagne is increasing at the end of every year. Trend. Yeah, the trend also have a trend that the trend is increasing. The sales is increasing. We can see that. Okay, we can see that we have a trend. We can see that sales is increasing. We can see that this is your sales. This is increasing. This trend is increasing, going up, and then after this portion, your trend is decreasing a slight a little bit. Okay, so we can say that we have a positive trend. Okay, but we can also see that we have also have a seasonality. Okay, so keeping seasonality aside, let's first try to apply ARIMA model and see what we are able to get. Okay, so first let's check for stationary, that our data set is stationary or not. And to check for stationary, we have two. I've already told you that we have two methods. First is add fuller, and the second one is rolling statistics. Let's apply both the method one by one. So let's first apply after rolling statistics. We'll see how to apply rolling statistics. Okay. So rolling statistics, I have to do nothing. I have to just pass my variable, pass my dataset df dot rolling. Okay. So I'm taking a window of 12. Okay. 12 months. Okay. So why I'm taking a window of 12 months? Because you can see that my data is repeating after each and every year. Each year consists of 12 months. That's why I'm taking a window of 12 months. If your data is repeating after each 6 months, or after each 1 month, or after data is repeating after 15 days or 15 minutes, then you are going to take window of that particular size. Because my data is repeating after each and every year. Okay. So I'm taking a window size of 12. And now I'm just finding the mean of it. Because we have a inbuilt function of mean dot mean, and we have inbuilt function of standard deviation dot std. Okay. So what this rolling means, that this rolling means that I'm shifting the top 11 values downwards. Okay, I'm shifting the top 11 values downwards. As you can see that I'm not getting a value for first 11 months. Okay, I will not getting the values for first 11 months, and I'm shifting that values to the month below it. I'm shifting the values to the months below it, so as to check that whether I'm getting a constant mean or not. So as to check if I'm getting a constant mean or constant standard deviation or not. So in this case, what I'm doing is I'm shifting my dataset by 12 months. Okay. So the January dataset, the dataset which was present for January has gone to December, and vice versa, and so on. And the data of February has gone to January of next month. The data of February has gone to January of next year. Okay. This is what I'm rolling. And after rolling, I'm going to check whether I'm getting a constant mean and constant average or not. Okay. Let's just plot it. This is our mean, and this is my standard deviation. Let's just plot it. So I'm plotting the original asset with the blue color. I'm plotting the mean with red color, and I'm plotting the standard deviation with black color. Okay. So you can see that our mean is not stationary. For stationary mean, our line should be passing something like this. Okay, our line should be passing something like this, but we can see that our mean is increasing. Okay, we can see that our mean is increasing. In the same way, we don't have a constant standard deviation. Our standard deviation is also increasing. Okay, we can see that our standard deviation is also increasing. So, which proves that our data set is not stationary. Okay, which proves that our data set is not stationary. So, after that, you have done that the data set is not stationary, you can apply, or you can change the data set to a stationary data set. Okay, You can try to change the data set to a stationary data set. You don't have to apply the second test, but for the sake of simplicity, I'm applying the second test also, which is known as add Fuller or Dickey Fuller test. Okay, add Fuller or Dickey Fuller test. Adam Dickey Fuller test. This is the complete name. Okay, Adam Dickey Fuller test or add Fuller test. Okay, so add Fuller test is present in stats model. So I'm quoting that add Fuller test here. So from stat model dot tsa stat tools add Fuller test. Okay, and I'm going to apply that add Fuller test on the sales value. Okay, I'm going to apply the add Fuller test on the sales value. Okay, so when I'm applying, I'm seeing the test result. In test result, I will be getting some values. So the first value will be add Fuller test statistics. The second will be my p value, which is the most important thing. Okay, the third will be lag used, kitna lags used हुए, how much lags we are going to take. Okay, what is the number of observations, how many number of observations is taking for providing this as flood test. So we have taken a total of 93 observations. We are getting a lag of 11 months because we are shifting by 12 months. Okay, the p value is 0.3, which is more than 0.05, means our null hypothesis is wrong. This data set is not stationary. Okay, and we have area statistics. Okay, then we have some critical values 1%, 5%, and 10%. So if you want to get in a complete detail of AdFlow set, then you can see this only. This is just a complete detail of AdFlow test, that what AdFlow test consists of. Okay, so AdFlow test is applies on always on sales data. Okay, say after that AdFlow test has give us 5 values: it is statistics, p value, lags, use, number of observations. Okay, I'm just zipping it both the values, the results I'm going to get and the labels I'm going to get. I'm mixing that both the things at one. And if I get a result one, which will be my p value, if the value of p is less than 0.05, then strong evidence against null hypothesis. So our null hypothesis is what? The data set is not stationary. Okay, so we are assuming here that our data set is not stationary. No, it should be null hypothesis so that our data set is stationary. And this is not stationary. Okay, so we have a strong evidence that our data set against null hypothesis because the value of is less than 0.5. This is so we have taken two options. The first is H0 and H1. So in H0 we are taking that our data set is not stationary, and in H1 our data set is stationary. So we'll assume that our data set is not stationary, and to reject that assumption, the value of p should be less than 0.05. Okay? To reject our assumption, what are the assumptions you are going to take? To reject that assumption, the value should be less than 0.05. Okay, so we are printing this that we have strong assumptions against our null hypothesis, which is rejecting our null hypothesis, and dataset is no unit root and it is stationary. And we have weak evidence that against null hypothesis, time series has a unit root and indicating our dataset is not stationary. Okay, so in H1 we have that our dataset is stationary, and in H0 we have that our dataset is not stationary. You can take whatever you want. Okay, so we can see that ADFC, this is the p-value which is not less than 0.05. The p-value should be less than 0.05 so as to make that our data set is stationary. Okay, so now with the help of add Fuller test or Dickey Fuller test, we are also able to get that our data set is not stationary. So now how we are going to make our data set stationary? So to make our data set stationary, we are here again shifting the values. Like in the previous case, we have parallax. With the same way, we are putting shift. Okay, sales first difference. So what is the sales of the previous months? Okay. So what we are doing is we are dividing the sales of sorry, we are subtracting the sales of first month with the previous month. Okay. So we are subtracting the sales of February. We are subtracting the sales of February with the month of January. Okay. So we are subtracting the sales of February with the month of January. Okay, but we are shifting months. But we have already seen that we are getting a seasonality of 12 months, so we are shifted by 12. Okay. What the shift by 1 month, I'm showing you here. DF dot sale that shift equals to 1 means your that set will move one value downward. Okay, your that set will move one value downward. You are not going to apply the same method each and every time when you want to make your that set stationary. This is the method I'm applying. I'm using the shift method. You can also subtract it from the log values. You can also take exponential values. Okay, you can take sine values or you can take different types of values so as to make a that set stationary. This is not the only method to make a that set stationary. We have multiple different methods also. Sometimes our normal shift works, sometimes the normal shift works not works, so we make a log shift. Okay, so we find the shift and then we take the log of both the data set and then we subtract the data set. Okay, we take a log of both the data set, then we shift and then we subtract. Okay, so to make our data set stationary. Okay, now in this case I'm just taking simple shifting. Okay, so I'm shifting here by 12 months. Okay, and I'm making up our new column. So I will be using this new column. Okay, won't be using this sales data anymore. I'll be using this seasonal first difference data, seasonal first difference column data, so as to get a moving average or so as to get a average or statistics and predict that is my data in this seasonal first difference is stationary or not. Okay, so you can then see that in seasonal first difference I'm just shifting the value by one digit and subtracting both the values in this, and in case I'm shifting the values by 12 months. Okay, the first 12 months have been shifted to downwards and then I am subtracting the values. So because I don't have previous value of previous 12 month values, so I am getting a 9 values in these cases because I don't have previous 12 values. So I'm getting 9 values in this case. Now I'm applying the again Dickey Fuller test or at Dickey Fuller test. So in this case, I'm getting a p-value of less than 0.05. Okay, I'm getting a p-value of less than 0.05. You can see 2.06 e to power minus 11 means my value is something like 0.0000011 times, and after 11 times we have a value of 2. Okay, so I can clearly see that my value of p is less than 0, which means my dataset is stationary. Okay, now let's also see by plotting also. Okay, so we can see that this is my dataset, and if I plot the rolling statistics, you can see that now we are getting a constant mean. Okay, you can see that we are getting a constant mean. So if we try to find a mean, we'll get a mean somewhat here. We'll get a mean somewhat here. Okay, which is much more constant than the previous mean we are going to, which we are getting. Okay, we'll get a mean somewhat here, which is much more better than the previous mean we are going to get. Okay, let's try to plot it again. So I'm plotting the seasonal first difference. I'm rolling the window again by 12 months so as to plot the rolling statistics. And you can see that the rolling mean and the rolling standard deviation is this. Okay, so we have some irregularities, but if you neglect that irregularities, you can see that we have a good mean. We have a good constant mean like this. This is a constant mean you are going to get with some irregularities here and here. We have some irregularities means our data is not 100% seasonal. Okay, if your data is if your data is not 100% stationary, this means your data is not 100% stationary. If your data is 100% stationary, then you are able to predict. Okay, if your data is 100% stationary, then you will be able to predict the exact output. Okay, if your data is 100% stationary, then you will be able to predict the exact output. But in this case, your data is not stationary. That's why you are not able to predict the exact output. You'll be able to plot. You'll be able to predict an output which is very close to the actual value. Okay. So this is our seasonal data, and this is our value which is going down. This is basically our mean and standard deviation. Okay. Now let's try to plot our AIMA model on it. So to plot the AIMA model, the value of AR, which is the value of P, we get the value of P with the help of PAFC. Okay, we get the value of P with the help of PAFC, which means partial autocorrelation function. Okay, we get the value of AR, which is automatic regression, with the help of partial autocorrelation function, and we get the value of MA, which is known as moving average, with the autocorrelation function. Okay, the value of PAFC is not able to give me the exact value of MA. That's why we use autocorrelation function for the value of MA, and to get a value of AR autoregression function, we use partial autocorrelation function. Okay, so we'll plot both the things. We'll plot partial autocorrelation function, and we'll plot the autocorrelation function so as to get a value of autoregressive and to get a value of moving average. Okay, we'll plot both the things so as to get a value of AR and to get a value of MA. Okay, so to plot the again to plot the autoregressive function and partial regressive function, we again both the things functions are available in stats module. So again we are importing this stats module, and you can see this. This is your partial autocorrelation function and autocorrelation function. So your partial autocorrelation function will give you the value of AR, will give you the value of AR, and this autocorrelation function will give you the value of your mean. And when you are going to read the our document, so in this you can see that the value of mean will not reach to 0. Okay, the value of autocorrelation function will not reach to 0, but will be trend to reach to 0. Okay, but it will trend to reach to 0. Okay, so the first minimum value which you are going to get. Okay, simply if we talk about the value of autocorrelation function or the value of moving average, the first value which is closest to the 0. Okay, the first value which is closest to 0, and you can see here in the 0, then in 1 and the 2. Yeah, with the value of 2 we are getting a value which is the closest to 0. Okay, so either we can use autocorrelation value, either we can use 1 or 2. Okay, in C you can see that in this case we can use the autocorrelation value 1 or 2. Okay, we can use the autocorrelation value of 1 or 2. So what we basically see is basically see the drop, in which value we are getting the maximum drop. So you can see that in case of 1 we are getting the maximum drop. From 0 to 1 we are getting the maximum drop. So will try to first will use the value of 1. You can try to use both the values and check your accuracy or check your output. So I will be using the value of 1 because in both the cases of autocorrelation and partial autocorrelation, I am taking the maximum drop. Okay, so I'm getting the maximum drop in value 1. After that my value is tickling when my value is moving, but I'm not getting that much drop. Okay, the maximum drop I'm able to get is at a value of 1. Same goes with partial autocorrelation, which will give me value of AR. So in this case also you can see that I'm getting a maximum drop at a value of 1 only, and then I'm getting a drop also, but I'm not able to get that much drop. Okay, I'm not able to get that much drop. The maximum drop I'm able to get at a value of 1. So in this case I'm again going to use the value of 1. Okay, you can also get a maximum drop at 2, maximum drop at 3, and maximum drop of 4, whatever you think of, but in generally you will get a maximum drop at 1 or 2. Okay, so try to check both for the values of 1 and 2. So we have get our value of P and Q. So this is our value of Q, which is going to be 1. This is our value of P, which is going to be 1. And the value of D will be also be equal to 1, because we have shifted our data only one time. Okay, we have shifted our data only one time, so as to make our data stationary. Okay, we have shifted our data only one time, so as to make our data stationary. In one time, single time, we have shifted 12 values. So I am taking value of D as equals to 1. So I'll be using these three values to get a ARIMA model. Okay, so I will be using these three values to get a ARIMA model. Value of Q equals to 1, P equals to 1, and D equals to 1. So let's import your ARIMA model. So your ARIMA model is not present in your scikit-learn. Okay, 99. Okay, okay, 99% of the companies teaching you the machine learning model or teaching you machine learning will not teach you ARIMA model, because this model is not present in the scikit-learn module, or you can say this is the toughest model of machine learning module. Okay, this is the toughest model of machine learning module, because we have to do this much steps. Okay, because we have to do this much step before applying the model. In all the rest cases, we just do test and train split and then just apply the model. But we cannot do this here, and that's why this model is not present in the scikit-learn module, or you can say this is the basically one of the toughest model present in your machine learning library. This model is not present in your scikit-learn. This is present in again in the stats. So we'll be using the value of P equals to 1, D equals to 1, and you can use value of Q equals to 0, or you can equals to 1 or 2. So I'm using value of Q equals to also 1. Okay, so I'm moving the ARIMA model, then applying the ARIMA model on the sales data set. Okay, I will applying the ARIMA model on the original data set. Okay, I will applying the sales ARIMA model on the original data set, not on the change data set. Okay, I will not be applying the ARIMA model on the change data set. I will be applying that on the original data set. You can also apply on the chain data set also. If you want, you can also apply on a chain data set also. So I'm applying this on original data set, because to make, I know that original data set is not stationary, but to make it stationary, I have got all this value of P, Q, and D. Okay, that's why I'm applying on the original data set, because if I'm not able to get the value of P, Q, and D, then I will apply my ARIMA model or my ARIMA data frame or ARIMA model on my stationary data set only. Okay, but in this case, I don't I am, because I have get a value of P, Q, and D, then I can apply it on the original data set also. Yeah, this is the value of sales, this is order 111. I'm applying the original model and doing the fit. Then after fit, I'm getting the value of summary. Okay, so in summary, you can see a model 111 value, method, date, time. Okay, coefficient, standard error, value of P. In AR, value of AR, value of MA. Okay, so you can see that value of P is greater than 0.05, which means your model is not very good. Okay, if your model is good enough, you should get a value of P less than 0.05. You should get a value of less than 0.05. If you are getting a value of 0. Less than P value of less than 0.05, then you can say that your model is good. But if you are getting a value greater than that, then you can say that your model is not good. Okay, so let's try to predict the values. So I'm predicting the values based on my end record or based on my last record. So I'm predicting the values from by taking the data set from 90th index to 1/3 value. Okay, so I'm taking the 90th value to 1/3 value, and I'm trying to predict the sales based on that much record. Okay, so your sales are predicted with the blue lines and your forecasts are predicted with the orange line. So you are getting this much sales. Okay, but in this much your the actual sales, and you are able to predict like sales will be going like this way. Okay, you are predicting that sales is going like this. That's which I've already told you that it's not good enough. This is not good model. Okay. So now let's apply seasonal ARIMA. In seasonal ARIMA, we take one additional value which is known as seasonal value. Okay. We take one additional value which is known as seasonal value. So we have taken the value of P and MD, and then in the third case we are taking the seasonal value because we know that our data is repeating itself in each and every cell and the 12 months variation. Okay, we can see that our data set is repeating in 12-month variation. So we are applying the seasonal ARIMA. Whenever your data set is having a seasonality, you will get a bad result. In case of ARIMA, you have to apply a seasonal ARIMA. Okay, so I'm applying again the forecast in the same n values from 0 to 103, and we'll check what is the output we are able to get. So you can see that your output, your forecasted value is exactly or almost similar to the actual output. Okay, your forecasted sales is almost equal to the actual sales you are able to get. Okay, your forecasted sales is almost equal to the actual sales you are able to get. Okay, so now will try to forecast the value for the near future. Okay, we'll try to forecast the value for the near future. So I'm taking here 0 to 24 means I will be trying to predict the forecast for next 2 years. Okay, I will try to predict the value, or I will try to do the forecast for next 2 years. That's why I'm taking my random value, or you can say that I'm taking random data set, or I'm increasing the value of that particular data set by taking additional 24 months. Okay, I'm increasing that original data set by taking additional value, or increasing the data set by taking additional 24 months. Okay, data dot offset. So the n limit for which was originally about 72, 8 month 72, year 72, 1972, so it will increase to 74. Okay, I'm providing additional 12 2 years to my data set. Okay, so you can say that again 1972, I'm increasing the 9 month, 10 month, 11, 12, 12, 12, and this I'm increasing the additional 2 years. Indexing, I don't have the values for next 2 years, so all my values will be 0, 0, 0, 0, because I'm just increasing the indexing. Okay, I'm just increasing the time. Now what I will do, I will concatenate with the original asset. Okay, this 12 years or this 2 years which I have created on my own. Okay, that this 2 years which I have created on my own, I will merge this 2 years with my original asset. Okay, I will merge this 2 years with my original asset. Okay, you can see that I'm doing the concatenation operation. Okay, I'm doing the concatenation operation. I'm merging my original data set with these future values. Okay, or with this 2 years. The 2 years I'm adding extra. I'm merging it. Okay, now I'm trying to predict the values, or I'm trying to get the output for the next 2 years. So you can see that this is my forecasted result. This is my forecasted result, which is very similar to the original results. Okay, you can see this is my forecasted result, which is very similar to the original results, and which is follow the same trend or the same seasonality which we were getting in the original sales. Okay, so these are my predicted sales for the year 1973 and 1974. Okay, I hope it is clear to you guys that how to apply ARIMA and SHAIMA model and what are the basic functionality of it. I'll provide you this data set, and I'll provide you one additional asset so that you can practice on that additional asset. Okay, I'll provide you that additional asset so that you can practice on that additional asset. Try to go this through this ARIMA model, because this ARIMA model is very rare. 99% of the companies which are going to teach you machine learning, 99% of companies which are going to teach you machine learning will not teach you this ARIMA and SHAIMA model. Okay, 99% of companies are not going to teach you this ARIMA and SHAIMA model because it's slightly hard to explain and it is quite hard to implement. Okay, So please go through this dataset again, or please go to this PDF again and try to read this PDF and try to get a grasp what we are doing in this PDF. If you have any doubt, please ask me in the next session or in the okay. Please ask me if you have any doubt in the next session. Okay. If you have any doubt today, just ask me in the chat. I will end this session here. If anyone has any type of doubt, just ask me in the chat itself. If anyone has any type of doubt, just let me know in the chat. Okay. So you don't have any doubt. Let's just end this session here.